Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the live stream of today's first sharing sessions on Let's Talk About Child Abuse. So before we get started, let's help us share the videos to your friends, to your family's members, and post it on your Facebook. We will be starting soon by 10. So before we started, let's have a quick interactions. Can I know that how many people are watching right now? Drop a message to tell us who you are. Are you a parents or teachers, educators? Share with us. Let us know who you are watching right now. We are going to starting soon. 1 more minute. Drop us a comment. Tell us more about you. If you are parents, leave a comment 1. If you are not a parent but educator, also tell us. Hi, morning, Alicia. Nice to see you. Hi, Kaji. That's great. We have an audience that not parents, but they are willing coming to learn about these topics. That's great. We are very happy to have you on live together with us. Do help us share out to let more people know about our this live streaming about Let's Talk About Child Abuse. Hi Grace, I heard that, I see that you are comment 1. So you are parents there. Alright, so we are coming to 10. So we are getting ready, getting warming up. So are you guys ready for today's sessions? Can I see some comments or reactions? Give us a like or love. Yep, so today we are going to start our sessions right now by 10. But before we are start, the background is moving, so cool. Yes, thank you so much, Kia, Kaji. Alright, so let's start today our sessions. So before we start, I have a few questions to ask for the audience. Alright, getting you guys ready, warming up, and getting prepared for our today's sessions. So what can you share with us? What is coming to your mind when you see about our topic? Let's talk about child abuse. What is the first thing appear in your mind when you talk about child abuse? Share us your thoughts. Drop a comment there. We like to see and hear the comments. Morning, Farida. Nice to see you from Dyslexia Sarawak. Wow, we are getting a lot of participants joining in right now. So give us a few moments to let more people joining in to our live sharing today. And back to the question I asked earlier, what is the first thoughts that come to your mind when you see about Let's Talk About Child Abuse? Share us your thoughts. Thank you, Yus. Thank you for commenting and supporting. Wow, thank you, Lydia. I heard about that. Mental abuse. That's the first thing that appears in your mind when we talk about child abuse. That's great. Come on, let's pump it up. The comment. Share us more. What is your thoughts when we talk about child abuse? What comes to your mind when you heard about child abuse? Thanks, Ting. Helpless children. Any thoughts? Any more thoughts? Any more ideas when we're talking about child abuse? Yeah, can I know again how many, because I'm seeing 22 participants right now. So can I know how many of us are parents? Drop 1 if you are parents. And if you are educators or other people that coming to learn about new knowledge, drop us 2. Torture, thank you. Thank you, Kanisha, sharing your thoughts. Torture, about the child abuse. The first thing came to your mind when talking about the child abuse is torture. Yeah, I also see a very good comment from Yus. He's saying that they are just kids. Why being so hard to them? Yeah, agree. Alicia is saying that it's important to know what are our available actions to take if we encounter these situations. I believe that will be get answered during the last part of the sessions. So stay tuned to us. Alright, so without wasting any time, let me get you guys ready about today's topics. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Chia Wei. So I'm moderators from Body Counseling. So I would like to introduce a quick briefing about Body Counseling. So Body Counseling is an NGO settings that we provide free counseling services to the community. So later on, we also will introduce about our services. So if you do need some help about counseling service or have some inquiries, please drop a call. We are happy to help you during our service hours. The information will be given afterwards. Okay. So without wasting any time, thank you for commenting. So we are going to start now. So when coming to this topic, I would like to share quick things with you guys. So let me stop the slide first. All right. So good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today in our first sharing sessions about Let's Talk About Child Abuse. So today, we are very happy that we are able to invite a very good representative communities, very good speaker from SWWS. So before we start our sessions, I would like to invite SWWS speaker, which is today's speaker. First one is Dr. NG from SWWS as well as Jill from SWWS. So I will inviting them up and let them introduce with you guys so that you guys can know more about their functions and their backgrounds and what organization that representing. So let us welcome Dr. NG and Jill.
Hello. Hi.
So hi everyone. So today we have Dr. NG from SWWS as well as Jill from SWWS joining us today in our talk. Let's talk about child abuse. So before we start, let's have some introduction first. Can I invite Dr. NG to share more about yourself first, and then as well your background of organization that you're representing?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Sim. Yeah, I'm Dr. NG Garrett from Sarawak Women for Women Society. I'm the Vice President for the SWWS, which is short form Sarawak Women for Women Society. Now, our NGO has been registered way back in 1985. All right, and then Jill is one of our founder too. Yeah, and who we are, yeah, we are just a group of women, and we are only based in Kuching. Yeah, we don't have other branches in throughout Sarawak. We are only based in Kuching. We believe in how to help women to have their own self development, because that is very important, because we want the women to have to know, or to realize what are the potential that they have, and then we try to help them to develop themselves, and also equal opportunity, yeah, for all women, children, just like a man do, yeah? And equal rights. We are also talking about the freedom from exploitation, and this is where our child safety programs come in, yeah, because we're trying to try to avoid or try to stop this, yeah, happening to women and children. We have freedom from violence, and that's why we have many services dealing with this, such as we have domestic violence. We give public awareness on this. We're giving talks. We also have like sexual harassment. Yeah, so these are what we are fighting for, right? And the services we have, apart from what I mentioned just now, public awareness, we also have like our drop-in center, whereby the women can just walk in, and then they can ask like information, what they need to know, especially from those in the rural women coming to Kuching, yeah. So they might want to know where is the WSP office, what here is the how to find a rental house, to stay, especially if they're not, they don't have relative to stay in the city. And we also like Women Crisis Online. This one we started it way back in 1988. Until now, we still have that line. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, yeah, so our because of the pandemic, I think the face to face, or even like CPL, this is more on online. You give it counseling online, but we had to stop it because our volunteers, they're worried to come to the center, because especially when it's at night. So this one, the numbers is going decreasing now, but of course we do other means, yeah, how to help the other women. Yeah, we also have children safety and youth programs. This we have done it since 2013, whereby we started it off in as far as Baram. We covered like Baram. We went to the Long San, Long Balutan. This, I think maybe some might not know where it is, but we have been there. Okay, and
Wow.
we also yes. We have been the Ulu Baram, we went to Marudi, just to give talk on this safety and the youth program, because like myself, I involved with the school for the teenagers. So this is where we have the youth program, and public awareness program. This is been we have been doing this. Yeah, we have like right now our program is doing this is how to help the needy children and the girls and women. Now we're having what we call it the sanitary pad drive. Because many people think about food, they're forgetting there are women and girls out there that might don't have the time, especially those places they're having MCO, they can't go out, so they need this like sanitary pad for them to use every month, isn't it? So we are doing that. So anybody that are willing to donate, please do so. Okay, you can help us to to have this, yeah, because
Yeah.
the last that we have is we ship it to, I think we sent to Cebu, is it, Julia? So we sent to Cebu the last one. That is last week. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And we also
That's
have
very great.
also have like a program like domestic violence. We used to have this, and we work closely with our sisters, like those in the WAO, all right, to talk about domestic violence against women, and also we
Mhm.
do have sexual harassment, and we used to give talks, like even to hotels. We even go for Pulapur to talk about this. We also have like and also have like empowering rural girls project. So this one we have done it. I think Jill is our module writer, and then she, though she has handicap in Bahasa, but you see she still
Very.
can go with us out there in the rural.
I'm Mandarin non-dual.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so she has been with us
Okay.
throughout these years. Okay,
Okay.
so I
Yeah,
think
that's
what
very
we
great.
have been doing all
Mm.
these years. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank
so
you for your introduction about the SWWS. Well, from what we can see, that SWWS is a very dedicated organization that working on women and helping women and the children as well. From what I can see, you
Yes.
have do a lot of community programs, activities, outreach. That's very great. So we are very happy to have you today. So thank you, Dr. Angie, for your introductions. So let us listen to next speaker. Jill, can you share more about yourself?
Okay. I think the first thing about myself, if you're out there, you'll think, what's this Orang Putih doing being part of Sarawak Women, yeah? So without going into my full life history, as Angie said, I arrived here in 85. I came to run a development agency. My background is in social work. I was trained and worked in UK in that field. And so I thought I was only going to stay here for a while. So I said I'd assist with the training. Then I met my husband, who, if you're wondering, is a Kalabit. It's that sort of Raja. And so the Baram area familiar to me. He comes from the top of the Baram. And so I stayed on. And I was fortunate. I found work. Counselling at the Social Welfare Council at one time. And then really fortunate, UNIMAS opened a social work program. So I joined that, and I'm generically trained across social work, but I've got involved in child protection work, both back in the UK a bit. And here, when I was counselling, I came across survivors of child sexual abuse, and I'd known somebody in UK who had given me some insight into that. So that set my journey off. But Angie, we didn't hear about you. We heard about SWWS. So I can explain who you are, but you better you laugh.
Yeah, we heard about like Jill's sharing her experience, how she get into this journey. But how about Dr. Angie? How do you get joining into this journey?
All right. So thanks for asking, Jill. So that now I'm retired. I have retired 2 years ago from Teacher Institute. Yeah. Teacher. IPG, Campus Tuna Dewasa, as a lecturer in the education field. My field is more on psychology and counseling. Yeah, my first degree is psychology, master's in counseling. And how I come about with SWS is that I attended when I was transferred from Limbang over to Kuching. I heard, that's right, Women for Women, working with, I think that time is WAO, they're organizing what is domestic violence, so I joined. So that's how I come in with Women for Women until now. Yeah. And we have done a lot. Most of the training part, that I think like Jill, we used to give training for crisis frontline volunteers. Yeah, and also doing the education program outreach and also the child safety program. So that is I'm doing for SWS for that. Yeah, I think that's enough.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angie, for your quick sharing about your patients and how you get joining into this, focusing on these journeys. So we have a very experienced speaker today. You see, we can see from Jill and Dr. Angie. So they have been in this field for a few years. I believe that more than 10 years in this journey, and they are involving in children. So that's why today we are trying to talk about this important topic about the children, which is child abuse. So before we go into the topic, let me brief you guys, the audience, the flow about how we are going to explain in details how about this topic, the flow of this content. All right. So basically, the first part we are going to talk about is what is child abuse first. So this will be presented by Jill. So Jill will talk more about what is the child abuse. Okay, and then the second part, after we talk about the first part, we are going to have a quick discussions. So we are very welcoming comments from the audience, from the floor. just type any comments. If you feel that during the presentation of Jill, during Jill sharing, you have any questions to be asked, just drop a comment there. After that, during the discussion part, we will come back to that and we are trying to have a quick discussion on it. All right. So after the first part, we are moving to the second part, which we will talk about what adult can do in protecting our children on this child abuse matter. So this will be presented by Dr. Angie. And then we also will have a quick discussion. So don't hesitate, don't be shy. Just comment any things that you want to know. Drop us a comment, share your thoughts, share your opinions. All right. And then finally, we will move into the final parts, which we are going to talk about how to find help, where to find help. All right. So basically, we are covering 3 things in today's sharing sessions. So let's, without hesitating anytime, I pass the platform to Jill.
Thank you very much, Sim. Okay, so if Sim is operating my slides for me, and so I can easily come in and out and see the chat box as well. But I'm also retired, so I'm not very into all the technology. So please bear with me as we work through on all of that. So you've got 2 retired speakers here talking about childcare, yeah? And in a moment, we will see the opening slide, which is showing a picture I love, which was taken by a Sarawak photographer here, that to me brings up what childhood is all about, or should be all about. And of course, we billed today as let's talk about child abuse, but the reason we're doing that is because we want to free children from child abuse. So if we start, and it might sound obvious with the technology, but what I want you to do is start by closing your eyes. Yeah. And as you close your eyes, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Tim, if you could put the next slide up for me, please. So as you have your eyes closed, just think back to what it was like to be a child yourself. Okay, go back into your childhood. We're all different. We will have all had different childhoods, and there will have been good moments and there will have been moments that were not, yeah? But from those experiences, think what it is that children need. And as you think about that, open your eyes again. You'll see the slide there. And you can put your thoughts in the chat stream if you wish. We're running a little bit short of time. So what I will do as you're doing that, I'll go on to the next slide and I'll share with you my my own list, yeah? And maybe it's the same as yours. And so right at the top there for me would be love. Children need love, yeah? And that goes across a lifetime, yeah? And if they have that stability in their attachment figures, they have that sense of belonging and security. Attachment is so important for children. Our whole survival depends on those attachments. And probably as a child, we are looking for understanding. And this requires some people who are willing to listen to us. Yeah. My grandmother's day was, you know, children should be seen and not heard, but we turned that completely the other way around. You know, we need to understand what's inside children. Every child has a story to be told, as the therapist Winnicott said, and what they need is someone to listen, and particularly when things go wrong, like when there is abuse experiencing, and we as adults are there. But childhood should also be fun, like in that picture that we saw earlier. And from our childhood, we build up our potential, we build our confidence, we need to have self-esteem, and we need to learn how to be kind. And most importantly, we need to be having a childhood free of fear. Or if we have small inoculations of fear, that we learn how to handle it. Like at the moment, everybody might have felt fearful of the virus. So how do we help children to overcome fears and not be in insecure environments? So that's what we're aiming for, I hope. And I'm sorry I haven't had a chance yet to look at your chat, but I will later. So let's move on to the next slide. And Sim was asking you earlier what you mean when we say abuse and what comes to mind. And do again pop those answers into your chat group as well. And I noticed people were saying about mental abuse, and I was pleased to see that because it often doesn't get mentioned. But each of us will have our own things that immediately come to mind, and I would like you by the end of today maybe to have more that comes to mind than currently does. And I have, as well as what comes to mind, can you click please, Sim? Just click, there's one more thing to come up. Yeah. We were asking what you particularly wanted to know about abuse, and so there may be particular areas you're hoping to get from today. So please again put those in the chat group and we can look at them. So you see there's a warning alert, and that's because when we are talking about abuse, if we have been abused ourselves, then it's understandable that memories will come back. And so think what support you will need and how you cope with that, because it's very important that we are kind to ourselves as we look and we discuss this subject. Okay, I hope I'm not going too fast for you, but I want to get back on track with the timing, and I hope you can understand my accent okay. So in the next slide, you'll see that we are hearing more now about abuse in the news. When I arrived in 1985, as a social worker, I expected to hear about child abuse of different forms, but there was nothing. I had quite a lot of contact with JKM in those days, but there was nothing in the newspapers. Then sadly a boy died back, and that started the discussion on physical abuse. And much later we got to hear about sexual abuse. And a few years ago there was Huckle, who to my shame comes from UK as well, who abused so many young children. And people have a range of reactions, and most commonly it's shock, which is understandable. But what happens after that? And actually some deny it. They say it's not happening, you know, we pretend it's not there. And we can feel very sad when we look at it, but we can also get very angry. And you notice there I'm saying at the end what we need this awareness, but whatever our emotions are, we need to work through to that so that we get to understand and are in a position to deal in a wise way, which is what's happening. Sometimes when we're very angry or we're very sad or we're denying, we're not going to cope in the way that is going to help the child, and that is always important. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to share with you some situations, and I want you to think, would you call this abuse? And you can put in your chat group, yeah? So if you say yes, no, or question mark, yes? So Y for yes, and for no, question mark. Sorry, my voice is going croaky. But let's look at the first situation. So at home, calling a kid Bordeaux, or you're useless, yeah? Would you think that that is a form of abuse or not? Is anybody putting in the chat group? Can't see any yeses or nos or question marks. Yeah, try not to be shy. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can't see or you're doing, and I can hear some noises, but I'm not quite sure where they're from. But oh, right, good. I've got one person. Yeah, the answers are coming in now. Good.
Yeah.
Right. So let's move on to the next one. And if you're belittling, you know, you're putting down a child in public, would we say that is a form of abuse? Okay, keep your answers coming. And it can be a question mark, you know. or you might feel, well, it depends upon. Okay? And then the final one, all right? Making negative comparisons. Oh, you're so slow compared to your sister, yeah? Your sister is this, your sister is that, but you're, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of yeses coming in, yeah? So, you'll see underneath the slide, if you just click, thanks, that these are examples of emotional abuse. And, you know, as parents, we all get stressed, we all may say things at times. So I'm not necessarily labeling it as emotional abuse if it's a one-off. If it's something very intense and very traumatic, and it's said, you know, it may stay with the kid for a long time, even if only said once. But really, we think of emotional abuse as when a child is in an environment where they're always getting those negative comments. And so you can imagine the impact on the child and what they think about themselves and how it impacts on their self-image and confidence, yeah? And so we would call that emotional abuse. That's a little bit like the mental abuse that was mentioned by one of the participants earlier. And it's actually the most common and it's the least reported. It is actually something that is reportable and in the legislation, but it's hardly ever reported. And I'll explain later why it is the most common. So on to the next slide. And I'm going to talk about a couple of situations again. And if you wish, you can add your answers in the chat. So imagine children aged 5 and 3, okay? Think of their size and what they're up to around that age. And think of them left at home. Would we call that abuse or not? Yes, no, not sure. Let me give you some more details, yeah? Nobody seems to be answering in what I can see, but only said once. But really, imagine children aged 5 and 3, yeah? So somebody, thank you, Asha and others, is saying yes. And on the face of it, it looks it, isn't it? Like they're too young to be left unattended. But let's give you a few more details. So if you can put up next the details for this one. Yep. So the mum has gone to work. And the reason she's gone to work is because her husband has deserted her. So she's in this difficult situation. She needs to have food on the table for the children. She has to earn her bowl of rice. But she can only go if she leaves the children at home. So she has a dilemma. It is wrong to be leaving children that young at home. They are at risk. It could be neglect. But did she have a choice? And whose responsibility is it that she hasn't got choices which can both feed the child and protect? You may want to say, oh, the husband and everything. True, but these things happen. How do we as society support women like that? Then let's look at another scenario. So if we click again, we'll see that a situation where a child's illness is ignored and the child is left without water. I don't know about you, but I'm getting more worried about that. Yeah, I'm worried about the first one. It's still got a lot of dangers for the children. But this one, something else is going on. But let's look at the final bit of detail. Would your answer be the same if you knew that the parents were slow learners? So maybe they didn't realize how ill the child was, or the importance of having the water there if they're running a fever, or having a person there if they're running a fever. So you'll see from the next message at the bottom there that these are examples of neglect. But we have to, when we come across neglect, ask ourselves what is causing it, because what causes it will mean it will indicate how we can change the situation, and so that the neglect doesn't happen. There still can be an impact on the child, but you notice there, like in the first example, where there's no choice, and how can we give choices and give people support? Where there's ignorance, how can we help people learn and support and learn and enable the child's needs to be met? The really dangerous one is when the intent is to neglect the child, and that's going to be more difficult to get the change. But if we understand why the person is wanting to punish the child, we can still think how to change the situation. But we may also want to deal with the abuser in a different way, depending on the extent of the neglect. But we have always got to be finding the reason right. Now, going on to the next slide, we'll see that there are a range of forms of abuse. So we've got our neglect there, intentional and unintentional. We've got the emotional there. And you'll notice from the emotional, I've taken arrows out. And this is why emotional abuse is the most common. Because in any form of abuse, you are also being emotionally abused. And physical abuse can take many forms. We think of hitting, but it can be cigarette burns. It can be poisoning. There's a range of different physical abuses. And similarly, there are a range of sexual abuses as well. And we'll look at that a little bit later. And then we've got exploitation. And exploitation can take many forms. And again, sometimes there's a question mark. I mean, some countries would say any form of child labor is exploitation. In Asia, we're used to children working in family businesses, and we might think that's an opportunity for them to learn and be part and belonging to the family, and that is true. But it's to what extent are they able to still continue with their education? Are they getting their other needs met? Are they not being overtired by what they're doing? So we have to have wisdom when we are assessing what is going on, and with that wisdom then we can help the child most appropriately, and that's always the important thing. So moving on to the next slide, we've got there an academic definition of well, I'm raising the fact that there are academic definitions of child abuse, and I don't want to get too academic today. We're having a casual talk. But the point I want to make is that as we learn more about child abuse, as we're willing to look and listen to people and find out more, so our definitions widen. And that is helpful because we can reach out to more people and we understand more. And we know that things can change in different cultures, and there's a cultural dimension. And within that, doesn't mean, oh, in this culture we do it this way, so it's not abuse, and we'll always say it's not abuse. Things can change. So take like the Rotan. We know it, if somebody uses the Rotan in Asia, that's quite common, as it was in UK, back in Victorian days, they would say, spare the rod, spoil the child. But these attitudes change. So we have to see where people are coming from and where they've got their beliefs from. And some beliefs in cultures are really good and strong, and the sense of play and things like that. But there are other things in the culture that may need to be looked at. But so when we're defining, we take these things into account, and we also may break down into particular areas. So you'll see there that there's a very typical view, and it's listing some of the forms that I've said. But what I want to draw your attention to are the words in bold. And so they are talking about omission or commission. So it's not only what you do, but what you don't do, like not leaving the water, or what you actually do, the words that you're saying, the actions that you're taking. I'm realizing we started a bit late and we're running even later. So let's move on to the next slide quickly. And any questions? Yes, that's good. Good to put those questions in. I want to just mention that, abuse takes many forms, and we're in an internet age. I'm not going to go into this because our speaker tomorrow will be dealing on that. But we are always finding that there are new forms of abuse appearing. So moving on. And what I want to do now is to look at a couple of case studies. And as we look at those, I want you to think about what led to the abuse, what increased the risk, and what's the impact on the child. And each of these are very important. The impact on the child is crucial, because once we know of abuse, we have to help the child heal and get their life back on track. But if we know what increased the risk, then we can try to reach parents or others who are abusing who are facing those stresses, and try and lower those factors before the abuse occurs, or if any further abuse occurs, and similarly understanding what led. So you'll see there that the situation I put is a father hitting a 2-year-old who couldn't eat food, and that that's not the only time. Yeah, the child on that occasion went to hospital. Old injuries are there, but actually the injuries no older than 3 months there, and you notice that the parents have taken the child back from grandparents 3 months ago, and so the mother is saying they're finding the child very difficult, won't obey, has temper tantrums. Now, it would be great if we could hear from you all, but I think I'm supposed to be finishing in a couple of minutes, and I still have a few more slides to go. So if you'll excuse me, I'll answer the questions I posed myself. Why I made up this story is it's similar to quite a few stories I hear in the press when the children have died. And I don't think there's any research into this, but I have seen several situations where you hear that the parents have taken the child back from grandparents, and it seems as if the family are financially struggling, working in town. They can't look after a very young child. The child goes back into to grandparents in a rural area. When the child's older, the parents think maybe they can manage. But there is a lack of understanding about children and how children and what they can and can't do. 2-year-old is still very young. It's going to be having temper tantrums, and also they will not be understanding why they've moved from their attachment figures of grandparents to these people who to them they may have only seen occasionally, particularly if the family are poor and not being able to visit. So the parents' own expectations and the lack of experience and attachment has probably led to the stresses. But whatever has led, the impact on the child is compounds the sadness that the child is going through as they adapt to a change. But each situation will be different. So quickly moving on to the next slide. This one looks very complicated, but let me take a moment to go through it. It's an old slide. It's over, this paper was written over 40 years ago, and I'm sure there's probably more knowledge built on which isn't captured in that, but enough here for today. So you can imagine this overall circle of social cultural factors. Then the family, and a lot of abuse occurs in the family situation. We look at the stresses, and there are 3 area stresses. Those social situational stresses like poverty, isolation, unemployment, being mobile and away. At the moment we're not mobile, but we're away and people can be more stressed. Discord in attachment problems, all those sort of things. Then you've got situations in the parent, and it can be any of those, or it can be none of those, or it could be something else. And again, we don't say, oh, because a parent has been abused in their childhood, all parents who have been abused will abuse. That's rubbish. Majority of people who've been abused know how difficult that is, and they will do all they can to be good parents and not repeat what they had experienced. But it may also be that for some, it's been a role model and their own stresses, and it gets and linked into them abusing. But also you see our child produces stress. So a child may be different. That may not be a problem, but if the parent sees that as a problem, then the parent is feeling stressed. Or the child's differences, particularly when they have complicated behavior, that can make things harder. And so even the calmest the parent may get to the end of their tether and think, I can't cope with that anymore. You know, babies that have colic and cry all night and all day. So we have to analyze this. And I've got foster children there, or children that had not belonged to the family, because the child is doing the adaptation themselves, and they may be showing their discomfort through difficult behavior, or the parent may not feel so attached to that child. So all these things need to be assessed, and then very often there's a trigger and then the maltreatment. So hopefully that links in a little bit to the case study I presented earlier. I've got one more case study, and I think we can just get through the slides with a little bit of leeway. We might have shorter time for discussion later. But this one here is, again, we've got those 3 key questions. And I'm talking here, these are made up, but they're made up from situations that we read about, yeah? So you imagine a child who is shy, 12, not really getting so much attention at school, and then maybe a very charismatic coach sees her ability in a sport, gives her that attention. It all feels very nice, and so she will feel warm to that person. And when he puts his arm around her and says, oh, you know, she might flinch a little bit and say, oh, it's okay, you know, I'm just helping you to do your badminton stroke better or whatever. So she gets used to it, and then he starts helping her with money if she needs sports equipment, gets to know the family, help the family. Everybody thinks this is an okay guy. But then he, having got himself accepted, he's always had this other agenda, and he starts touching her more intimately. And she's left confused, not knowing what to do, not liking, but what do I do? And as the sexual abuse intensifies, he will be telling her, you have to keep this secret. Nobody will believe you. I'm the powerful teacher. If you don't do this, it will be hard for your parents. And so here is a 12-year-old who's already shy, coping with something that she didn't understand. So you can imagine, well, the next, let's go into the next slide. The slide after will say a little bit on the impact. Okay, so in any abuse, you've always got a power dynamic. You don't abuse people more powerful than you. So you have power over people. And in sexual abuse, particularly, the person is looking for people that they can have power over, and they are going to be meeting their own sexual needs. It may not be full intercourse, but it will be some way they are getting self-gratification out of it. And the dynamics in sexual abuse are different to the other forms of abuse. But of course, emotional abuse is part of sexual abuse, and all abuse has a power dynamic. Sexual abuse particularly happens in private. The public don't see it, and also sometimes they don't want to see it. You know, when it came to light in Malaysia, people acted as if it had never happened in Malaysia before, and it was something from the West. But they were not listening. You know, there were women and boys in Malaysia who had been sexually abused 40, 50 years ago, but they didn't say, and people didn't look, and you have this whole silence, which is why we call it breaking the silence, and why we're doing talks like today. And then sometimes when it comes to light, the public are not helpful. They scold the child. They don't believe the child. They blame the child. You know, oh, it was you. You were egging him on, yeah? Or you shouldn't wear clothes like that. What do you expect? Well, they laugh at the child. And so the child is isolated, uncertain, and fearful. So next slide, please. So the impact. Now, I cannot stress enough that the impact varies with each child. So we do not think, oh, immediately this is going to be exactly the impact on this child because it was on another child. But we can see patterns, and we have a responsibility, though, to help the child heal, and we would experience would show us that we would explore the areas in purple at a pace that is friendly with the child, but we can often see that children feel betrayed. They trusted somebody, like the girl trusted her sports teacher, and she was betrayed. Imagine what it feels like as well if it's your grandfather or your own father. And so the other side of that is that we have to be very trustworthy. We don't make promises we can't keep. Yeah, and the child might test us out while they're learning whether to trust us or not. They found a coping mechanism, and it will take time and a relationship to help that child feel safe and to trust. Then, as I say, abuse occurs in a power relationship, and the child is powerless. And how do they cope with that feeling of powerlessness? And the healing is, how can we empower the child? We'll talk later about how empowering the child can prevent abuse, but when abuse has already happened, how can we help that child? So we want to try and give control back to the child, but of course we can't give control over everything, like the legal process in a way, but we can help them understand what's happening. We give as much control as we can. We empower them with information. We help set the boundaries. We help them feel safe. We listen to their worries. And actually, until they feel safe, they're probably not going to tell us everything that's happened. And sometimes they don't feel safe until after the court case, although we need as much information as we can before the court case. But in reality, we might not hear it all. And we have to go at a child-friendly place. And then the child can feel guilty. They can feel it's their fault. So we have to make it sure that it's not their fault. And they can feel dirty, and they feel inside their self-esteem has been hurt. And then the remarks around people around them can make them feel that that they're to blame as well, and so they can go further down. So we really have to alter this, and we have to make sure they realize it's not their fault, build their self-esteem, their confidence, and get an environment that is more supportive. And then sexual issues, some may not have that. You can have a whole range. You can have the range of kids not as when they're adults not wanting to engage, kids wanting to engage and having a healthy sex life, but getting flashbacks, which they may or may not understand. And then you might get that kids have learnt to gain attention through having sex, or that they're punishing themselves because they're blaming themselves. So it's complicated. And we don't go in with set ideas. We go in and listen to the child and explore and try to find out. With girls, of course, we sometimes only find out when they're pregnant, and then nobody believes them that it was their father or somebody else. I've known of a girl who told them that it was her boyfriend just so that she could escape from her father. And when she told them it was her father, nobody believed her. And we also get suicide attempts. I know I'm over time, but I really want to emphasize about boys. Boys also get sexually abused. There was an incidence survey in Malaysia, and the abuse of girls is about the same level as it would be for internationally, what we would expect. But for boys, it was a lot higher. And we're hearing more as we break the silence. Gradually, more boys are coming out, but we have to be aware of that. I'm way over time, but I think the last slide is coming up now, Sim, yeah? And so usually people want to know who abuses. And it's very important, again, that we don't stereotype, that we don't make assumptions, that we think, oh, he has to look like this, or, I mean, it can be a woman. There are very few women, but there can be women who sexually abuse. The vast majority is men. But so we mustn't pigeonhole, and we mustn't think, oh, it's only drunk people who do, or only people who share bedrooms. You know, it's every walk of life, every level of society. Actually, the more elite are able to hide it better than the people who are poorer. And so always our priority is protecting the child, but we also want to change the behavior of abuser. We shouldn't be naive about that and just believe people that, you know, if they're facing a court case and they know the evidence is against them, they'll say, oh, judge, I'll never do this again. It's not going to happen that easily. But there are indicators of who will change. And sometimes children can abuse each other, not just there may be sexually inappropriate behavior, but there can take the physical example of bullying. Yeah, but we don't want to be labeling the children as abusers, because that labeling, you know, people live up to labels, and we often stop ourselves thinking what our job is. So when we see tendencies of any type of abuse within children, we have to think that they've learnt it from somewhere, and that our role as adults is to guide them and to help them realize why such behavior is not appropriate, and help them learn how to behave in a respectful way to others and deal with what issues they have. And that will help prevent in the future, and it will help that child get help as well as the children abused. Sorry, I get very passionate about this. I could talk for another half hour, but let's open it up to some questions. And Sim, I know you will keep to time, so we may have to hold some of the questions over till later. Thank you, everybody.
Right. So I got a few questions from the floor, which I think that's a very great questions, and I would like to bring to your attentions. So the first question is, where is the community-based support system for vulnerable families like single mothers?
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm also reading the second question there. Yeah, you're completely right. I think that's Datin Wong, who's got a lot of experience listening to children on the Childline. And I welcome the question, because really that is where we have to move forward. You know, we have a very, very rudimentary system to address child abuse. We've got some laws which we'll look at later. We've got more awareness. We do have some people providing service, but we have nowhere near enough resources. And everybody has a role to play, you know? So although we do need more experts in the field and available, we need more understanding at community level and people reaching out and working, you know, a caring society. As they say, it takes a village to raise the children. And what we don't want is that when mothers are struggling and doing their best, that everybody starts pointing and blaming them when something goes wrong, but instead thinks, how can we help this lady? What have we not been doing that has made somebody in that situation so desperate? And so we can put out the hand of help. So much comes to how we assess and keeping our own minds open, caring and exploring and finding out. So that would be my input on that. I don't know if Angie wants to chip in.
Yeah, I think that I agree with what Joe is sharing right now. And actually, that we are not just like depending on the support system, like community-based support system. Actually, like for us, neighbor, if we can get the understanding about this, and then we be more caring, we can step it out to helping them as a community. We ourselves, we start from ourselves first. After we getting know about these situations, then we start from ourselves, our actions. We will eventually break the silence, and they can able to reach out to more people. Right. I also got a second questions. Let's answering this second question before we move into the second part. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So from Florida. So Florida is sharing that she have a kindy student where she will be in the school for 6 to 7 hours in the morning, 4 hours for tuitions, music, art class, learning at home until midnight, continues every day until Saturday night. So I wonder, how does this kid feel? He will look very unhappy at school. Does this mean he is having emotional abuse? Hmm.
Yeah, I'm really so pleased that you put this question up there, because I think there are many children out there who are in these incredibly packed schedules all day. And the parents are probably thinking that they're doing their best for the child. And this is what I mean about social, cultural factors that add in. You know, people want their children to succeed. They want them to have all these opportunities. They structure from the moment the child wakes up right through. I heard of somebody once saying to me they wanted to arrange a playtime with friend's kid in kindy, and the kid couldn't because the kid was rushing to a tuition class and was eating a food in the car between, and there was no time for play. And I really think we've got off track. Play is fundamentally important to children. You know, my first training was in psychology, and we learned, you know, the importance of play, how much we develop our skills, our social relations, how we explore our environment, how we build our confidence. Play and attachment, you know, if you're not attached to people, that causes all sorts of problems. So when we want our children to develop and have the good childhoods and good adults, we have to remember the importance of play and bonding with people. And I can understand why parents do what they do, but we need to broaden their education and help parents who step out of the over intense tuition style and remind people of the importance of play, and that parents feel okay saying that. I can remember when my own daughter was in kindy, you feel, you know, I was shocked kindy had homework, and you don't want your child to fall behind and feel lack of self-esteem because they've not prepared for this spelling test on Sunday night like other kids. But you also don't want them on this treadmill. You know, kids need space and parents need bonding time. So it may be an unintentional emotional abuse to children, and I would say it's something that we as society need to address. And kindies can address it by, you know, sharing with parents the importance of play. This kid, the parents might feel the music and the art classes are helping the child have creative expression, which is good. But again, it depends on what the expectations are. And we're a very kiasu society, and people keen on their straight A's. You know, it's actually helping children have a sense of achievement for themselves. There's a whole big debate on that, and we could come back to it, but that would be my first reaction. And maybe you say that the kid is looking unhappy. Maybe try to make the kindy a place where the kid can be happy, giving the kid a little bit of space, finding something, and that can mean so much for a kid. But we do need to change the overall culture, would be my thought on that. Again, I don't know if we have time for Angie to come in before she gives her presentation. Thanks, Sim, for that opportunity. And right. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. So let's continue with Dr. Angie first on the second talk, and then do comment if you have any questions to add on. So hi, Dr. Angie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm ready with your slide.
Okay. Thank you, Sim, and thank you, Jill. Now I'm just continue with Jill, what Jill said, that the other part that is impact varies with child. Now we see that some of the impacts, like the feeling of betrayal, powerless, stigmatized and all that. So therefore, my question here is, what can adults do to help the children to overcome this impact on them? All right. So maybe number one, because we don't have that interactive that is different from physical. So first one is have to be caring. That means the adult have to show that you care for the child. That means when you talk about be caring, it's not just just to give them a hug or what. It's more like listening skills, show your empathy, yeah, and so that the children feel that they are being cared and loved. Right, empower children. So later part, I have a slides here. How can we empower children for this? Yeah, empower children is very important because what we want is that we don't want them to feel that they can be bullied, they can be abused by anybody, because when they feel weak, yeah, they don't know how to say no, and that's what the program.
Yes.
We've lost you, Angie. Angie, have you muted yourself?
Then next one is improve communication with children. Okay, and this is one important aspect between adults and children. Sometimes being adults, we tend not to listen. Yeah, we tend only know how to just like giving advice. We wanting children to listen to us, but sometimes we fail to listen to children. So therefore, we must have these two ways communication with children. Though they are children, but we have to learn how to speak to these children up to their level. Okay, so this is very important. Engage your children with communication, like discussion. Tell them how they feel. Ask them how would they like things to be. Yeah, rather than we tell them, I want you to do this, to do that. So this have to do with what we call it the parenting style. Okay, so for a parenting style, those who have taken like parenting skills, yeah, there are 4 types of parenting style. The first one is authoritarian, and this is more focused on like obedience. Yeah, you only want your child to listen to what you say. If I say this, you must follow this. If I say it's a black, it's a black. Yeah, there's no negotiation with your children. It's more like just like you everything. If they are you use punishment to discipline your children. And if you learn about psychology in personality, so this will lead to what personality will the child be when they grow up. So this can be make the child, though they are firm, but somehow they are weak in decision, because when they were small, a kid, yeah, they are already learn how to listen to their parents. So therefore they cannot make decisions. So this one, they tend to follow what the people say. Yeah, they depend so much on people. If the parenting skill is authoritarian, yeah. And the next one is authoritative. So these are two different. Like many people, they're mistaken. You look at the difference in their spelling towards the end. Yeah, authoritarian and authoritative. Authoritative, it's more like create a positive relationship, and though they enforce rules, but they explain why the rules are made for the child. And therefore, there is a lot of negotiation, there's a lot of two ways communication. The child are asked to make their decision, therefore, the parent will guide them through. Yeah, so the parents will listen to the children. What is the opinion? So here you see the child are trained how to make a decision, a wise decision with the advice of their parents. Yeah, this is in a way we call this is more like democratic way of parenting. Yeah, and we also have the third one is the unevolved. This unevolved parenting style is more like, yeah, they provide little guidance to the children. They leave everything to the children. They let the children do whatever they want. Yeah. So to them, that decision, everything, let the children do it themselves. This is how they learn. I mean, that's what the parents would say. They are telling the children to be independent. Yeah, of course, we want children to be independent, but they need to be guided, but not here. All right, uninvolved, there is no guidance given. Yeah, and for permissive, the fourth one, this one permissive, they don't enforce rules, but they will be there. Yeah, so it's more like the permissive is more like how to say, you manja your children, you know. Yeah, so when they make mistake and they say, oh, okay lah, that's how they learn. They learn through mistakes, but you didn't tell them what are the right ways to do. Yeah, so sometimes you give whatever they want. Yeah, no doubts you are there with them. Yeah, you do give them advice, but somehow you're not strict enough. Yeah, when the children do mistake, you don't make any any correction for them. All right, so this is the permissive. So therefore, what we want to stress here is more on the authoritative, right? We want the parents, yeah, to have a two-way communication. This is one of the ways whereby we can help the children to learn, right, how to say no. Right, so learn how to say no is also lead to what we call as assertiveness. Yeah, so assertiveness is something that we need to train children. Learn how to say no when you feel unhappy about it. Yeah, so this is the simple meaning of assertiveness. Okay, let's see next. Yeah, and therefore, based on these four parenting styles, so maybe some of you who are parents now, if this, what do you do to calm yourself when kids are stressing you? You know, sometimes when you are, you know, back from work, you work 8 to 5, and suddenly when you reach home, you see your children is running up and down. You know, you can see all the toys all over the floor. So how do you calm yourself when you're dealing with these kids? Maybe you can give a short answers, or just so Sim can write it down for us. Okay, can I give you maybe a few minutes?
Yeah, we are looking answer. Is see any answer from the floor?
Okay. Any answers from the floor? Yeah. Okay.
But I believe that this is a quite, like we say, these are very common questions. But when coming to how to do it, it will be very hard for every parents, I believe, especially when you are really in the mode of stress. Yeah, you are very hard to able to rationalize and calm yourself down. So we would like to hear, like, is there anyone's experienced this, and then what do you do to calm yourself?
Yeah, because we want to we want to know how do you do it. Maybe by sharing your experience, it will help others too, is it not? Yeah, maybe others might learn from you. Maybe you have I mean, your experience is very positive, so maybe it will help the other parents too.
That is okay. So while waiting for the questions, let's
Okay.
move to the next slide first, and then we come back to
Okay,
that.
let's move then. Yeah, because so next slide, and then we see why empower children. So earlier on, the first slide that is taken by me just now is why how to do how we empower children. So empower children is very important aspects lah. Yeah, because first one is we want to reduce the power gap which favor abusers. Because if the children are not taught to empower themselves, so the abuser, you know, can take this advantage on them. Yeah, because Jill earlier on also did mention about the 12-year-old girl who have been groomed by the coach. So that process, what Jill is telling, is what we call is the grooming process. Yeah, how the abuser gain trust from the children. Yeah, once again trust, when the child trust the abuser, so this is where they will take advantage over the girl, over the victims lah. So therefore we have to reduce this power gap. So we have to tell them, yeah, how important it is, yeah, to learn, yeah, how to power themselves, how to be assertive, yeah, whatever how people want them to do. So at least they know, why this fellow doing this to me? Why is he touching me? and I feel uncomfortable with the touch. So at least you realize it, and then he can say it out, yeah, saying that, why are you doing this to me? So that is what we call assertive. Yeah, so the child have to empower this strength, you know, so that they know assertiveness is important in life, not just to follow what people do, just keep quiet and all that. Yeah. And number 2 is to give children knowledge and confidence to tell and get help. So once they know that this person is touching her uncomfortably, therefore she has to tell people, tell people, the parents, the caregivers, the teachers, that she's not feeling happy. Yeah, because this teacher is doing something to her that makes you feel uncomfortable and unsafe. Yeah, so this by knowing all these tips, so the child will be able to get help. Yeah, and strengthen their sense of self-worth. That means not everybody can just touch you and hug you and kiss you anytime. All right, so you have self-worth. This is the knowledge that we have to get across to the child. Yeah, so they have to know this. What are their rights? Yeah, to be safe. Yeah, so this is what we have draw up in our child personal safety program. So Sarawak Women for Women has our own program for this child, this safety program, which we started way back, as what I said earlier on, is in 2013, when we even go deep interior in the Baram, to talk about this. And then in 2018 and 2019, throughout Kuching, I think, we have been called by the churches, mostly the Roman Catholic Church, from the 10th Mile Padawan area, St. Anne. We have Holy Trinity in Kenyalang Park. We have St. Joseph. We have the Institutong, St. Mary Church. So we have been called to talk about this program to those teachers, Sunday school teachers, apart from the primary school. And of course, we also did this program that is 2018. We done this like a roadshow as far as Sri Aman, Sibu, Mary, Limbang. Yeah, so this program has been delivered to the primary school teachers. Yeah, so we have done that, funded by the women and the family ministry. Yeah, so these are the program, and because of COVID-19, so we have stopped doing this because the school are closed. We are not even allowed to go to school. We are not allowed to get close to children. Therefore, this is not. But last year, we are given a grant by the Sarawak Social Development Ministry to do a video. So we have produced a video on our program. So on a healthy relationship, how to do this. That is when we are involved in also the Randau program. But for this child, child safety is more for the primary school children. Okay, so our team is more on say no, run and tell. Yeah, so the curriculum that we're having is involve 10 topics. In special, the right of a child, a whole special body, a private parts. We tell the children what are the private parts. For a boy and a girl, that we have 5 private parts. How many people do you know what are the private parts? Yeah, many people, the most they can say is about 4. Yeah, they said about vagina, breast, what else they said? Yeah, the anus, all this only, but they forget that mouth is also one on the private part. Yeah, because normally we say private part is something that we don't show to people, but mouth everybody can see. But why is mouth is considered as a private part? Yeah, so this is the thing sometimes that people not know, but we are telling the child that mouth is also one of the private parts. So because nothing can be put into our mouth except for food. Yeah, so that is why you say mouth is also a part of the private part. Yeah, and you look at the picture there in the training, we also ask the child to name the different body parts. Yeah, so that's why you see that people may wonder why you show a naked boy and a girl. Yeah, Because if we don't show this, they might not know which part is called, yeah, the anus, which part they call the nipple, the breast. Most of the boys say, oh, I don't have breast, yeah. But they forget when you ask them, do you have a nipple at your, you know, at your breast? Then they say they don't know because they don't have. So this is very important so that they know that this is also, the boys also have like breast, yeah. So this is also considered as the private parts, yeah. And the feeling and the different types of touches, the safe and the unsafe touches. And then for this program, normally we will show them many many pictures, yeah. And then we ask the children to identify which of the pictures are safe and that shows safe and unsafe touches. Yeah, and also we're teaching about the teaching rule, the touching rule. We have 3. The first one is no one has the right to touch your private part, and no one has the right to ask you to touch their private part. That is touching rule 1. Number 2, if someone do that to you, so you have to say no, run and tell. And the third one is go and tell until someone listen to you. Yeah, because if the first person that you tell, maybe teacher does not believe in you, so you have to teach the next person, the school counselor. You may also can ask your parent, if your parents say not true, because the person who did it could be the father, it could be the uncle, it could be the brother. You know, so you have to tell to somebody else, the auntie, the grandparents, and all that. So keep on telling until someone listens. Okay, that is a touching rule number 3. And then reinforce assertive behavior. So again, remember when I talk about authoritative parenting skills, one of the skills that we want to teach the children here is to be assertive. Yeah, they make assertive, they learn how to say no. Yeah, and then dealing with secrets. Okay, I think Jill earlier on keeps saying that normally when the case study 1, yeah, so the abuser will always tell, this is the game, this is our fun game, so let it a secret between you and I. So we have to tell the child, if it is a good game, why must you keep a secret? Why can't you tell your parents about the game that you have shared with him? Yeah, so this is the thing. If the person tell you that whatever we play, whatever game we do, this is a secret between you and I, that means that secret is not a good secret. So we have to tell. So for this curriculum number 8, so we use storytelling. We call it Nina story. Yeah, Nina and the monkey, how the monkey advised and Nina, not to keep that secret, because if a person tell you a secret and then he doesn't allow you to tell to anybody else, so that secret is a bad secret. So this is what the monkey advised Nina. So this is how we use analogy to tell the child that how to deal with secret. Then the support system. If this thing happened to them, who are the support system that they need to go through? Yeah, so it could be the parents, it could be the teachers, it could be the grandparents, the aunties, the neighbors who listen to them. Yeah, and last one is about safe and unsafe situation. So in what situation they are feeling safe? So what situation? These are the things that we stress to the children in this curriculum. Okay, so the next one is how. It's more on the teaching strategies that we use, how we teach this. So we're not just talking. We're not just talking. The first, of course, we talk, we give input, but we also have some exercises, some question, case studies for them to share. And then we have a lot of singings, singing the body parts. So we also sing the special. So these are the songs that we teach depending on the child. So this is say primary 1 to primary 2. These we sing maybe different songs for the same message that we have to go through. And games, we use games, role play. Sometimes we ask them to play role play, give them one a role to this say A, they play this role, B, you play this role, and then we ask the others what they try to portray to you. And also we use art drawings. And because Like drawing, actually, is a good one, actually, because with the time, like for if you are teaching the upper primary, so art is a good one, because we can ask them to draw or sometimes using clay, to describe themselves, and then they tell about themselves. All right, so all these the teaching strategies. Our purpose is to enhance children's self-esteem so that they know who they are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and also to give the information or knowledge, right? When the people is doing this to them, certain behavior of people, what they gain from there. So they learn also the knowledge about their own body parts, so that who can touch it, what can or how to avoid people from abusing them, and the skill is more on assertive skills like how to say no to people, right? So this is, of course, because sometimes we cannot go through the children themselves, so we go for like teaching then training of trainers. This is where we invite the primary school teachers throughout Sarawak. I think we covered all already. So that means the primary one school teachers. So this is training of trainers. So the primary school teachers, when they go back to the school, they will use our program to teach their children. So of course we don't use their own what they call it lesson, but we ask them to use maybe about 10 to 20 minutes before or after classes to go through certain topics, not every topic because if the 10 topics you need about more than 2 hours, so maybe they take 10 minutes one topic, so that will help the children, to expose the children about these safety programs. So
I would like to add on about the 10th module. I think that is very great for the parents, because some parents will asking like, what should I talk to the children about, teaching them the protections, how to protect themselves. So I think that although that we don't, as a parents, we might not have a very complete module, but this curriculum gives us a very clear guideline that what is the thing that we should highlight on. So parents maybe can look into this one, maybe take a snap, and then going home, following this curriculum to teach your children how to protect themselves.
Okay, thank you, Sin. All right, so this is the song that we're telling them about how special they are. Every child is unique in their own way, and therefore they are called special. How we teach the song. So here you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 languages in Sarawak. Because we have like the first one is English, second is Penan. We have Penan, Kayan, we have Kenyah, Iban, Malay, and the Chinese. All right, so this is because when we went to Baram before, so we are dealing with Kenyah, Penan, and Kayan children. So we teach them that song. So that's why we have someone, teachers, and they translate this for us. The tune is like, "Are you sleeping?" Okay, so maybe you can play with this so that the children knows how special they are, no matter they are unique in their own way, even though they are handicapped in some way, but of course they're still a special child. So here we say that I am special, so are you, I am very special, so are you, see, you see the Chinese one is here. You see the Chinese one is here.
Okay, let me try. 我很特别，我很特别，你也是，你也是。我非常特别，我非常特别，你也是，你也是。I'm really not. I'm really but I'm not sure it's correct.
I don't know. Because I don't know you pronounce correct because I don't speak Mandarin. Okay, so this is one. So this is one of the. Okay, thanks, Ima. So this is one of the strategies that we use in our curriculum, right, by singing. And also we do have like head, shoulder, knee, ankle. This is the different parts, the body parts. So this is also we sing, especially for primary one. They love singing and they do the action song. So this is how we attract the children. Okay. So next one is let's see. Yeah, so earlier on also you see I said one part of it is what do adults do, right? Communicating with children. So how do we communicate with children? Okay, the first one is engage yourself. So that means parents have to make time lah, yeah, give you quality time to your children. You have been, I mean, say you work from 8 to 5. So you only be back maybe the earliest could be 6:30 or so. So use the time, the night time, maybe while the student is doing their homework. So talk to them. Yeah, so always give time to your children and listen how is they work in the class, in the schools and all that. Yeah, listen. Yeah, so when we listen, when you are children, when the children that are talking, listen attentively and not listen, just look at them without acknowledging. Yeah, the message they are trying to give you. So normally we say here is listen with the third ear. So listen attentively, yeah, and then so that the children feel that they have been listened. Yeah, go at the pace. That means when you talk, base talk at the rate of the child. For instance, your child is only 6 years old, so of course you don't treat them as if they are 13 years old. Yeah, so try to talk using their language and their pace. Yeah, and then be open when a child is telling you about certain things. Yeah, be open about it, because sometimes the child is trying to get a message to you, especially when we talk about the body parts, right? This is why sometimes it's very important when you talk about the body parts. Sometimes, yeah, I think some of the parents before, when the children are small, a baby, they keep on saying like penis. They wouldn't say penis is not. They say babat lah, you know. When they got the girl, the vagina, they say, oh, flower, you know. So when the child said that my flower is painful, the mother won't get it. Yeah, because you forget that earlier on when the child is still a small baby or until 1 year or 2 year, they keep saying that is a flower. So when they say my flower is painful, the mother won't get it. Yeah, so have to explain that. Yeah, so this is the body part. So I have to tell the parents, I have to tell the children at the baby stage, tell them the correct meaning of the body parts. If it's a vagina, say vagina, not a butt pee. How can the butt pee for you? Is it not? So I have to tell them the correct, the correct body parts, so that they learn how to do it correctly and tell you. So be open when they say that so and so is hurting me. Even they say my big brother is playing my private part. So the mother had to be open about it. Had to ask them what private part, when does it happen, you know. So don't say, don't accuse, you know, don't play with your own brother, you know. And then instead of, you know, listening to them, you are blaming them. So the child will shut up. They won't listen. They won't talk to you anymore. So this is how to talk to your child, so that have always acknowledge the emotion of the child at that time, why they want to talk to you, because they trust you, you know. So this is the important aspect when you go communicate with the children. Okay, so next one is about talking about, how would you feel? So here is based on that communication just now. How would you feel if a child hinted that he or she has been sexually abused? How would you handle that situation? So maybe some of you can share, or you can just write in the chat box there, so that Sim can read for you.
Yeah, so we're waiting. I will like to just add on about the just now Dr. Angie got mentioned about we have to be open and then teach the children to know about the correct name for their private part. I believe that is also very important, because like in last few years, if not mistaken, there have been a cost that something costing going to the court, but because of can't name properly the private part, so there is no like able to make any judge lah for that. So I think that if not mistaken, something case like that, but I think that Dr. Angie can add on that. So I think that that's very important for parents to teach the correct private parts name.
Yeah, that's very true, especially when it comes to yeah reported cases, and then the child is called to court and all that. So when they asked to describe, they said she play with my, with my what a flower. She didn't use the word vagina. Of course, in the court, there's no legal term as flower for that. Yeah, so you have to decide. It's important that we have to use the right, correct body parts. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So,
So,
mm, any feedback
so
from that?
yeah, I got from Alicia. Alicia very sporting. So Alicia is
Mm.
sharing that I will try to ask them to talk about it. But if they are refused, I will ask them if they want to draw out their feelings. Wow, using the arts.
Yeah,
Using
that's good. Yeah, this is, I think, the later part. I think next week, is it Sin? You will have art therapy. So this is how they learn, because through art drawing itself, sometimes it can tell, because a child cannot express too much verbally, but they can express it through their art, through their drawings, or sometimes if we can use a clay. Yeah, you can like dough, that to describe what happened to them. Yeah, because when I went once to the child protection unit under PDRM in Kuala Lumpur. So when we visit that place, yeah, so they have few counselors, para counselors. They're specializing in art therapy. So when a child was when there's a police report, yeah, based on the child abuse. So this child is brought to that child protection unit or CPU. So these para counselors will use the art. So ask the child to art a drawing. Yeah? So you can see the drawing, how they describe, these are the things that hurt me so much. And they drew, yeah, the big penis, whatever. And then who was the person? They say, it's my uncle. How does she do it to you? Then she do the act, apart from the drawing. So this is one way how we can help the child so that we know what's happening to that person. Okay.
yeah.
Now my question is,
Actually,
yeah,
try to speed it up a bit because we're running a little bit out
yeah,
of time.
right. So yeah, I say how to respond. I just want to quickly go through how to respond to disclosure of child sexual abuse. The next slide, yeah. So this is to answer that question. So if a child, I mean, if there is a child that come to you and tell you that they have been abused, so how would you handle the case? Yeah. So first, make sure that the parents or the counselors, you have to stay calm, because if you become panic, so what happened to the child? Yeah, the child at that stage is already in a confused stage. Yeah, so make sure the counselor or the parent themselves will stay calm, believe the child. Yeah, believe the child so that the child knows that there is someone that they can trust. Yeah, once you believe the child, you can always say that I know this is not your fault. I believe what you say. So this is to to give confidence to the child that she can rely on you to discuss about what they have gone through. Yeah, and then be affirmed to them. Yeah, I know how scared you are, and I know you are very strong indeed because you are able to tell me about these issues. So this is you affirm them and listen. Yeah, and listen to them. Don't interrogate while they are talking. Yeah, no need to say, why do you do that? What's wrong with you? Why don't you run away? These are the things that will make the child stop talking to you. Yeah, so just listen to them. Yeah, be supportive to them. And then, of course, at the same time, you need to prepare the child because this thing happened, you are not wrong. Therefore, you have to be prepared, might we go to court and then we go report for the abuse cases. All right. So this is how can we do disclosure? Yeah, disclosure process for that. And how to recognize, of course, because like nowadays, many people think that there are, sometimes child abuse is just a talk, it's just a myth. It doesn't happen to me. So that's why we have three statement here. So maybe if you think that is true, then you just put a T, and then if it's false, you put an F. Like number one, children or youth are sexually abused because the mothers are not sexually available to their husband or partners. You agree with that? Yeah? Is it the F or T? All right. So, any answers, Sim?
We are still waiting, but we can continue with the second one first, I think.
Yeah. And then number 2, children often make up stories. Yeah, children often make up stories or lie about the sexual abuse to get attention. Is this true? Do the child lie about that? And then the third one, act like touching and kissing are not sexual abuse and they are not harmful to the victim compared to rape. So it seems here rape is more, kissing is okay, you know. Do you believe that or do you agree with that? Do you think it's a false or a myth? Okay, question 1, 2, 3. Any?
Wow, I see a lot of comment typing F. So mostly they agree that that's not true.
All not true. Okay. Yeah. Let's see the answer. Whether, yeah, okay. Correct. It's not true. Yeah. Because many offenders are expert in manipulating both the victim and the people who care for the victim. So the offender use a range of tactics now actually to get close to the victim and the family. So it would be not entirely fair to put the blame on parents, you know, or the caregiver. So actually it's not fair to say just because the husband cannot have sex to the mother or to the spouse, therefore they abuse sexually their children, right? Which is not true. So children often make up stories or lie about sexual abuse to get. This is also not true. Now, if the child didn't tell, how do we know that abuse has happened? Yeah, so they have to speak up, yeah, or else it's if they are encouraging themselves to be sexually abused later on. Okay, and then acts like touching and kissing are not sexual. So this one, now if you see that, you know, how does the rape comes in? Yeah, how does the rape started? So of course it starts from touching, isn't it? Yeah, it starts by touching. Then after that, it can be then go to more harmful to the kid. That is to the rape. Yeah, so that means it's no matter what acts you do, whether it's a touching or not touching, it can cause or it can lead to sexual abuse. All right. Okay. Next, the last part. Okay. All right. Therefore, adults can bring change to these issues. Yeah. Number 1 is always develop awareness. So that's why our SWWS keep on having this program, yeah, our child safety program. We're still doing it now. Hopefully the COVID is gone, yeah, so that we can continue doing this and protect the children. So how to protect our children? Yeah, talk to them, listen to them, ask them, yeah, especially parents, yeah, please watch out on the behavior of your children. Is there any peculiar behavior, you know, that you notice to your children, yeah, and advocate for better child protection system. So this is in a way, Jill will talk more on this, yeah, after this, yeah, but how can we get help, where to, you know, who to call, what are the numbers and all that. Okay, thank you, Sim. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Dr.
Dr.
Question, you can take this one. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Angie, for your sharing. But normally from this now, Dr. Angie sharing, we can see that SWWS is doing a lot of things with linking with other NGO as well, and then we can see that what is the things that what parents can do in these parts, right? So if you got any questions, you can just type in. Let me check through the comment. Is there any questions? Yeah, I just now saw the comments from the audience earlier because just now Dr. Angie got asked, right? So what is parents doing when they are stressed? So we got a response from the floor. So yeah, it's just really so true. Yeah, take a deep breath before
talk. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Or take shower.
Take shower.
To cool down yourself.
All right, to cool you down. Yeah. All right.
Alicia also shared like a few minutes away from the children, try to figure out what actions the children is doing that's making me stressed out. Wow, self-reflections that I express to the children when I come and how I feel about actions. And that's very great. You
Okay.
express out.
Yeah, that's good. That
what
means,
you
yeah,
feel.
because that means the parent is open to the children. At least the children knows their feelings too. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mm,
All right.
all right. So
Good.
hang on. Let me see.
Sherry.
Sherry also saying that. Yeah,
Mm.
true. We have to treat the children as communicates as friends, so they will be close to us, willing to share to us. All right, so let's move to the next, the last part before we come to the final discussions. So let's move into the parts of where to find the helps about like law reporting, something like that. So let's welcome Jill.
Hi again. Hi everyone. And as I talk, and I'll probably be going through this quite quickly because I know you'll be getting hungry and we've only got about a quarter of an hour. So do type any questions in your chat as they occur to you. And hopefully if I talk a bit fast, we'll have time at the end to deal with them, yeah? So having identified the problem, and we've sort of looked very wide at a range of child abuses, although we're particularly highlighting about sexual abuse. We need to know who to report to, and we also have to be prepared. I think often people are not expecting this situation to happen, and then suddenly they're finding a child has disclosed some form of abuse and they're not quite sure who to take it to. So what can we do to prepare? How can we know more on our law? And as of course our focus is on helping the child, but I want you to remember there are other people who need help as well. And also remember, a child covers anybody under 18. So, you know, we're talking from a few months old to 17. And of course we have to adapt our approaches for the age. But the laws are there to protect everybody, which is the good news. Okay, so on to the next slide. And I've split this into two because there is a need to report, and so we have to know the official reporting systems. But I think also when we're coming across these situations, particularly for the first time, we may ourselves need to have a safe place to think things through, learn what to do, feel that we've got support. But we mustn't get caught into gossiping and spreading information around. That would be unprofessional and can be harmful to the child, and all that I said about keeping trust. So you see that I would say if you're like in a kindergarten, in a school, you should know who is a person that in your organization who you would go to, or say as a parent, maybe you can go and straight and report, but if you want to bounce ideas off people, go to the appropriate NGOs or trusted experts in your circle, and there are different helplines that are around, and these you can be anonymous if you wish. There is a duty on us to report, but I don't mean necessarily the helplines, but you know, for all of us, when we know abuse, we don't want to be silent and complicit, but we want to get the appropriate help in the appropriate way and in the appropriate timing. And you know, each situation may need some thought on how to do that. In terms of reporting, I would actually recommend going to the hospital as the first place, particularly the hospitals which have one-stop crisis centers, and you can access through the accident and emergency, or you can, you know, if a child, you can, if they're under 12, you would see a pediatrician. If over 12, there would be other doctors around. But hospitals are they're there 24/7. They're there to help people get help, as our welfare departments. but welfare departments are not so open, and here in terms of office hours, and here in Sarawak, of course, not so accessible. Even hospitals are hard to access, but you could try your clinic. They extend more rurally. We don't have one-stop crisis centres in every accident and emergency department, but it's linking into the systems of support that are there and the official ones. And the police, of course, are connected in all of this. Some would say go to the police first. I think that's in the law that it's sort of recommended that people go to the police, but the child protection officers are in the welfare department and the police department, and the aim of the hospital is that they can help you contact everyone and help the child with physical and emotional support as well. There will be help there. So but remember what I said about giving a child back control. We may have, the child may not really want the reporting, but we may feel that we have to report. But how we discuss that with the child, and we give the child our reasons and ask the child other people they would want to be with them and what is likely to happen to them. So they are feeling we're building up that trust, and they're feeling that they have more control than they have had. So as I say, how we report is so important. Next slide, please. So you may want to take a photo of this. These are some help here available in terms, within the NGO. There's some of us, not everybody, who is involved with aware of all the child protection work, but whoever is on duty, they would take your situation seriously and get people like Angie and I and others key involved, so you have the support. There's also, you see in and there's Buddy, as Sim has been saying, in the bottom corner there's a fairly new group of Buddy Bear, which is a national group, and they are there for the children themselves. There's the child line, there's the government line I put up earlier, and also there are other NGOs, and I really want to stress here, it was on a slide earlier, a lot of our work has been done in collaboration with PS The Children. We started on our journey back in the 1990s of thinking how to get information to children, and we did something with the Teachers Union, but back then people were not comfortable about saying no, and we did put it there, but we were developing it, and then we did the Barham project, and then PS The Children were developing theirs, and we did a collaboration, and they trained us and came over, and we trained teachers together, and we've moved on with that. So we owe PS The Children a big thank you. And Angie mentioned the monkey story, which I think came from Women's Centre for Change. And both organisations have websites which give a lot of very good information. So I would recommend that you go there. We've not duplicated that on our own website. We're still developing our website, but really the information is great and it is updated on those places. And the Women's Aid Organisation also has. So do take a photo of that. Next. I would like to say a little bit on how you prepare yourselves, yeah? And if you're working with children, you have to think before it happens, who would you turn to? Who would give you supervision, yeah? And does your organization have a clear policy? And is that known to the staff? Is it operational? And people feel, we know the schools have a policy on bullying, but it's so tucked away. You talk to schools and they don't know. Likewise, when we've been training teachers on child sexual abuse, they're not clear what their organization expects of them. So let's get each organization having their own safety policies in. And also, then that may encourage them to do more awareness training as well, like Angie has mentioned. And also when we take staff in, we have to make our staff aware of our policies, and we also have to screen them. And this is actually now what the legislation is supporting, and there are methods. We only we can screen to see if people have had previous convictions. And I'm trying to get myself screened at the moment. And I tell you, accessing the system with police and JKM is complicated. I think in Semenanjung they've got things a little bit more smoother, but we're still learning here. So, but we need to make sure that the people working closely with children are not motivated to be near children because they want to groom children and abuse them, because we know this is what the paedophiles do. And we need to know our law, and that will empower us, and children's rights as well. So if we go into the next slide. Sorry, I'm going a little bit fast because they can hopefully have time for some comments and questions. So when we talk about the children's rights, these are all written down and they are available in child-friendly language, probably still in English, though I think we may have a BM. And these rights are part of a convention, and Malaysia has signed that convention. And it's a very important tool because there's a whole process of monitoring Malaysia's progress. And if we go into the next slide, we'll see that our laws are laws particularly focused on children have been comply with the UN Convention. This really was the trigger for the Children's Act, which originally came out 2001 and was amended in 2016. And this act is a very important act because it defines child abuse more broadly, and also its aim is to protect children. And so the level of evidence is lower than in a criminal court because it is enabling us to make sure that children are in safe places. The other act, the one I've highlighted in green, has come across more recently, and that was in 2017. And the trigger for that was really the Huckle case, and also some young people themselves, some teenagers under the name of Rage, did an undercover documentary, and they realized how much through the internet people were getting caught up into abuse. And I think that will be shown at one of the future courses. And that got the awareness and the momentum. And so we now have the Sexual Offences Against Children's Act, which is now making it a criminal offence to groom children and others, which I'll show in a moment if we have time. But the black box there is the penal code, and the police are very used to using the penal code, and that's like the default that they will always go to. And so there's always an education process. It is good to use the penal code, but it's also good to use these other acts and to be thinking which is the best in that stage. So that's why I really want you to be aware of these more child-friendly acts and the potential for them to be able to get more successful prosecutions. Getting successful prosecutions is another talk in itself. So going on, as time is very short, just quickly highlighting the definition of child sexual abuse, which is there in the Child Act and also in the Sexual Offences Against Children Act. And so you can see it is much wider. You can see that it is also including whether a child has observed, not only has participated. It's helping us to keep more up to date with things that are happening on the internet as well, and that will be part of tomorrow's talk. In theory, it gives us a lot more ability to catch people and protect the children. But as I mentioned there, SCAN, the Child Protection Officers came into existence legally under the 2001 Act, and you need interagency collaboration. So health, police, welfare all work together in a group called SCAN. Education not officially on there, but we need links to education departments. Times again so let's move on. And this is just highlighting some of the things within that Act of Sexual Offences Against Children, which is only 4 years old, coming up to its 4th anniversary. As you can see, there's grooming of exposing a child to anything sexual, failure to report when you witness. In fact, we're all expected to report. Child pornography, make, sell or watch. But this is important, and it's there because we know there's a lot going on the internet, and we want to catch the people who are doing that. But you notice at the bottom there, I'm saying that implementation always needs resources and training. And so we very much need the enforcement agencies to be up to date with their IT equipment so that they can catch these big fish. And again, this might be gone into detail there. But what we've sadly found is that sometimes when children, you know, as I say, under 18 is a child, so two 16-year-olds sharing photos of each other, rather revealing photos, but all done consensually. We've had a couple of cases in the country where horrified parents have gone and reported to the police, and we found that these young people are being prosecuted, and that is not the intention of how the Act was set up. But it's easy to discover because the police are told and they feel they have to act, and young people are just not realizing that it's been considered publishing, even if it's supposed to be private between two. So that's an issue again that maybe tomorrow can take up. Very important that child evidence does not now to be corroborated in court in the same way as if the penal code is used. And so which act is used is very important to help us get a more child-friendly setting and understanding more what's going on. Also, if you are in a position of trust, like a teacher, and you sexually abuse, you will be punished more than somebody in a lesser role. Reminding people of that, you know, they're breaking their trust, but really we are all breaking if we sexually abuse children. And now there are special courts being set up. There's only 2 in the country. Luckily, we have one in Kuching, probably because YB Rohani was in when this act came through. But we need everywhere, yeah. But it takes time. But it will only come about if we are aware and we keep the process moving of developing these services. And if somebody says, "Oh, but I thought the girl was 19," that is not a defense that can be accepted, okay? And once an offender is prosecuted and released, they would be on probation. But to be honest with you, we know that abuse is very common. We know only a small portion get reported. We know only a smaller portion of those reported get successfully prosecuted. So we've got a long journey to go. But the most important is that, you know, people like here today, you add your voices to all the other voices so that the silence is broken, more people are aware, and we encourage our children to share with us situations that they come across which they feel uncomfortable about. And we keep campaigning at every other level, but we have to be there for the kids from the start. I think the next slide is my last one. So who else needs help? As I've stressed throughout, the priority is the child, and you know that's fundamentally true and is why we're all here today, I'm sure. But we should also think about how we help the abusers, and not to be naive on this. You know, many abusers will say they won't do again, but really they're still blaming the child and everything else. But we have knowledge to be able to know when abusers are really more ready to change. And it's a controversial area. You really want people who are feeling that they are tempted to sexually abuse to feel that they can safely come out and say and get the help so they don't. But there's also the feeling that, you know, if they are saying they're already crossed that line, then they need to be facing the consequences of their crime. So these are complex issues which have been discussed globally. But as I mentioned, with children showing inappropriate behavior, we really have to get to people earlier, and we have to think of what those barriers are. I would like to just say one little story on physical abuse. Way back, over 40 years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was a new social worker in a city in UK, and a kindergarten rang up that a young lady had come in. She was a bit younger than me, but not that much younger, and she was a single parent of a 4-year-old. She lived in a high-rise flat, and she walked into the nursery and she said, "I have just done this to my child," and she showed the scars on his back. She'd got a TV wire and she'd bashed the kid on the back with it, because the kid had been hanging next to the window on this high-rise condo. It was for poor people, and not a big flash modern one, but it could be anywhere. And he was saying to Mum, "If you don't give me this, I'm going to jump." So he was trying to blackmail his mum, and she said, "I can't control this 4-year-old. Please help me." And so the kindy referred to the social workers, and we helped her. It was a long journey. It was a couple of years, helping her learn how to handle her child and all the issues she'd gone through, helping the child see the difference. But it always struck me, you know, and I always affirmed that mother that she'd had the courage to come and get help. And when she did, that the kindy knew where to respond her to, and we as a social services department helped her to help her child. And I feel we're still a long way from that, but that would be my goal. So we need to think how we reach out to the people abusing. I've got 2 more squares. So the next square are those of you supporting. This is emotional work. You know, we all have emotions when we're dealing with these sort of situations. It's having places where we can safely work through those emotions and making sure that we handle them, like we've been saying in the earlier slides, so that we are able to be there for the child in a helpful way for the child, that we're meeting that child's emotional needs, not our own, and we're not projecting our own emotions onto the child. So that needs a high level of self-awareness. And everybody needs this, but you might see in the Borneo Post today, YB Fatima talking for the Social Work Act to come. And this is why we know that the child protection officers need to be well trained. And this is why we're looking for the Professional Social Work Act. We want volunteers to still help. We want people helping in the community, like Datamong was saying about the neglect case. But all of us need to have this self-awareness. But it is emotional. We need our own safe places for support and work those things through. And there's one third group, and this group very important. And you remember at the beginning I was saying that this talk might trigger. So for those of you who have been abused, and you may still have flashbacks of that, you might have got to a stage where you recognize it, you handle it, the memories are integrated, but there may also be things which are painful and which you feel maybe it's a stage of life where you could get help to help you work through some of those issues and feelings that you have. And I've heard stories from many people who've been abused, particularly people who've been sexually abused, and I'm almost always amazed at people's courage and what they did to protect themselves, and really respect the journey people have had. And I think we need to have a society that is more listening, more encouraging. So if you feel that anything has triggered you today and there's places that you would like to find help, do think back to that list that I shared earlier and honor what you've done to come this way. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there in society about people who've abused. Vast majority of you, you're doing fantastic job coping and reaching out and helping. So everybody needs help together. As they say, it takes a village to bring up a child. As a society, we need to be kind and supportive to the adults as well. So thank you. I think we're already past 12 o'clock. Oh, sorry about that. It's the passion.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we would like to extend like 10 more minutes for a final discussion. So we'd like to have you all guys to stay back with us for 10 more minutes. Thank you so much, Jill, for your sharing. That's a very wonderful sharing. That's so warm, heart to talk about this thing. Yeah, we know that that's not easy for people when they are already like those who have experienced this, coming to this part. It's not that easy. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I don't know if Angie wants to come in on the camera and join us for a moment or so. I know everyone will be feeling hungry, but if there is a thought that, you know, is being triggered, we can have a few more minutes, or also, you know, put it down there on the chat so Bodhi's group can bring it in future talks or in the rest of the series coming up.
Yeah. Hang on. All right. So coming to the final part of discussions. So let me ask back the audience, to the floor. What came to your mind after we have? Sorry, a bit of noise disturbance. All right. So when coming up to the final part of this, I would like to hear feedback from you guys. So what is the most what do you guys learn for today's lessons? Like just a quick or one sentences feedback to the speakers. Like what is the things that you learned from today's sharing? Yeah, and then I've got one questions for panel as well. Like because we know that this thing is having a very long ongoing process that we are trying to fight for the children, doing the best for them. But then since long years ago until today, can I ask, what is the biggest challenging that you guys found when coming to this topic, and that we have still yet to fight on that? What is the biggest challenge for that? And we know that this is a very long ongoing process. We have been fighting for that, trying to overcome this thing. But until today, what is the biggest challenge in these issues?
Do you want to go first, Angie, as people heard my voice last?
Yeah, I think for us, I think one of the most challenging is when a child, you know, she has been abused, but they have no way to go to. Yeah, and sometimes they might get the help from the parents, but sometimes the parents refuse to take up the case. Yeah, I mean, through experience, sometimes we do have a case, but somehow, you know, we cannot pursue it further because the parents don't want to take up it any further, especially when it involves the family as a perpetrator. That is the most difficult part here. All right,
Yeah.
so
Jill, do you want to add on things?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge was getting the conversation started. We're moving along on that, but obviously it's still a challenge, and also bringing in about boys being abused as well. I suppose for me, I would feel a huge challenge and a very crucial one to address is building up the resources so that the frameworks that we've got with the laws and the like can be implemented effectively. And when anything is about people, we need other people skilled to be able to deal with that individual situation. And in other talks we've had, on both child abuse and domestic violence, we're often in a touch and go situation, you know, that people come in, they deal with the immediate, but these are journeys and people need support along the way. You know, it's very tied up. Help is through relationships. And so the challenge is really investing in building up those resources. And I know we have to be realistic, and we do want everybody in society to play their part. That makes us much stronger. But we do need to be investing in a better child protection system and bringing in more expertise linked in. And I noticed there's a question about people being afraid or unwilling to report. And there's many reasons why they do that. But one is that they may not have trust in the reporting process, and that the reporting process understands where they're at. So it's a sort of chicken and egg. So if we've got a better system in place and we're known more in the community and people know us and we're there, then you get that reporting more. Yeah. And that lady I described, she felt safe with her kindy staff. So the kindy weren't particularly trained in child protection, but they knew and they were able to help. Other countries have people who visit people at home when they're first having children and helping them settle. So that case I had of the new parents trying to cope with a 2-year-old, there could be support there right away. You know? So it's really, we have to walk the talk and put the right resources and work together so we get a good child protection system going.
Yeah, I also agree with
good idea coming in the chat group.
Yeah, yes, from Datin Wong. Datin Wong stated that. Yeah, that's true. This thing, the qualified social worker.
Maybe I'll add one just thing. When you're talking about reporting in families when the abuser is in the family, we need to get the child safe, and we need to get the abuser out there, and we will probably need to send the abuser to prison, but we don't send to the prison and throw away the key. And those of us in this field say we don't send them to the gallows either. You know, a lot of people, when they're so shocked and horrified and everything, there's always a call for hanging people, killing people who have abused. Now, I understand the anger, but if you keep a calm head, that is not going to encourage families to report on their husbands, their brothers, their sons. So we're not protecting the children. We're just making ourselves feel better. And very few abusers sit there and think, if I do this, I'm going to be hung. You know, what they think is, I'm going to hide this, nobody's going to find out. So we have to make sure that people find out, so that we can get the abuser away from the child and protect the child. So yeah, there's always more work to be done.
True. So
if you hold up to your passion, you'll get there.
Yeah, the best thing is we can start it from ourselves. So just like from what we shared today, basically we are giving the awareness. So we hope that everyone that listened today, we can start from ourselves a little bit. Eventually we will reach there as well. So before we end today's sessions, just one last question to the panel. Would you guys like to give a one words or one sentences of advice to the audience before we end our sessions? And this is the QR code and feedback form. So for those who need certificates, they can scan these QR codes. Yeah. So like Jill or Dr. Angie, do you want to give any one last advice to the floor or to the audience before we end this?
One word is be empathetic to all.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
See? Empathetic.
Right. How about from Jill?
I was also thinking of communication, of really listening, and so inclusive of the empathetic, making time and being encouraging to your children.
Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much for those who staying along with us for 2 hours and 30 minutes. We know that we have already dragged in 30
Oh,
minutes for that,
30
but
minutes.
we really
Yeah.
appreciate your time, your patience with us, attending to us to the last part of the slot. So thank you so much again. So see you again on our afternoon slot. We have invite psychiatric time to talk about how to build child mental wellness and building their resilience for that. So see you on afternoon slot. Thank you. Have a
Thank
great day.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
Thank
time.
you.
everyone.
All the best.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.